Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Hey guys, Marco here from Aviator Live CS. Welcome back to my channel. Today we will continue with the Boeing 737 systems review, and we will be talking about a pretty extensive system, which is the automatic flight. So let's get started, guys. The automatic flight system, or AFS, consists of the autopilot flight director system, or AFDS, and the autothrottle. The flight management computer FMC provides N1 limits and target N1 for the autothrottle and command airspeeds for the autothrottle and AFDS. The AFDS and autothrottle are controlled using the AFDS mode control panel, or MCP, which you can see here, and the FMC, which you can see here. Normally, the AFDS and autothrottle are controlled automatically by the FMC to fly an optimized lateral and vertical flight path through climb, cruise, and descent. The flight mode initiation, or FMA, which you can see here, and the autopilot and autothrottle disengaged lights show the status of the AFDS. Autopilot Flight Director System. The AFDS is a dual system consisting of two individual flight control computers, or FCCs, and a single mode control panel. You can see both of them here. You can see the two FCCs, and you can see the mode control panel. The two FCCs are identified as A and B. For autopilot functions, FCC A controls autopilot A, and FCC B controls autopilot B. For autopilot operation, they send control commands to the respective pitch and roll hydraulic servos, which operate the flight controls through two separate hydraulic systems. FCC A uses hydraulic system A, and FCC B uses hydraulic system B. Autothrottle is function of the FCC-A only. One of the FCCs is specified as the master FCC, and you can see here the letters MA. That means that this side is the master one. You don't see anything here. Autopilot and flight director status control, which FCC is the master. For flight director operation, each FCC positions the flight director command bars on the respective altitude indicator. MCC mode selector switches. The mode selector switches are pushed to select desired command modes for the AFDS and autothrottle. The switch illuminates to indicate mode selection and that the mode can be deselected by pushing the switch again. While a mode is active, this selection can be automatically inhibited and is indicated by the switch being extinguished. When engagement of a mode would conflict with current AFS operation, pushing the mode selector switch has no effect. All AFDS modes can be disengaged either by selecting another command mode or by disengaging the autopilot and turning the flight directors off. And keep an eye on that. It's good to know. Now, we will talk about the mode selector switches, and what I did here, for each of them, you have what you are going to see in the FMA. Once we push these switches, you will see the FMA changing. So for the N1, if N1 is selected, this is where you are supposed to see. And if N1 is deselected manually on the MCP, this is where you are going to see. N1 mode engages automatically when engaging level change in climb, except during inhibit period for 2.5 minutes after liftoff, engaging VNAV in climb. Now a speed mode. The speed selected, when we select it, this is where you can see MCP speed. And the speed mode engages automatically when altitude acquired engages alt hold engages, vertical speed engages, glide slope capture occurs. When the speed mode is deselected manually on the MCP, this is where you can expect to see. Now, if we talk about level change, climb on level change, you will see N1, LNAV, MCP speed. So N1, remember, a descent on level change, initially retard, and then arm. The level change mode is inhibited after glide slope capture. Head and select. Once you push this switch, you will see head and select. And remember, there is a green box you are going to see once you select a new mode. And you are going to see that box for 10 seconds and then disappears. Initial selection commands turn in shortest direction towards selected heading bug. Bank angle limit is established by bank angle selector. Head and select automatically disengages upon capture of selected radio course in VOR lock and approach modes, VOR lock arm. So turn first and then engage the mode. If we talk about the approach mode, approach armed, this is where you can expect to see VOR lock and glide slope in white. That means they are armed. Once you capture the VOR lock, you will see it green, and still the glide slope will white. And you capture both of them, you will see VOR lock, glide slope. Same side VHF nav must be tuned on ILS. Localizer must capture before glide slope. When captured, it can be disengaged by doing the following. Pressing the toggle switch, disengage the autopilot or autopilots and both flight directors off. Retuning VHF nav. Alt hold. When we press it, we can see the alt hold mode. When in alt hold at selected MCP altitude, selecting a new MCP altitude illuminates the alt hold switch and arms vertical speed mode. Level change, vertical speed, and VNAV climb and descent functions are inhibited until a new MCP altitude is selected. Alt hold mode is inhibited after glide slope capture. Vertical speed, you can see it here, vertical speed. Altitude acquired when approaching MCP altitude, so you will see altitude acquired. And when the MCP altitude is captured, you will see alt hold. So you can push this switch to arm or engage vertical speed command mode, command pitch to hold vertical speed, engage auto throttle in speed mode to hold selected airspeed, and insert vertical speed pitch mode and illuminate the vertical speed switch light. Now if we talk about VOR lock, when it is armed, you will see it white. When it is captured, you will see it green. When we push this switch, it commands AFDS roll to capture and track selected VOR or localizer course, and inserts VOR lock armed or engaged as roll mode and illuminates VOR lock switch light. The capture point is variable and depends on intercept angle and closure rate. Localizer capture occurs not later than half dot deviation. Autopilot A works with VHF1 and autopilot B with VHF2. LNAV, when it is engaged, we can see the green LNAV mode. LNAV armed on the ground, we'll see the white LNAV, and if VNAV is engaged. LNAV armed on the ground, this is where we are going to see. LNAV armed for go around, this is where we are supposed to. LNAV guidance becomes active at 50 feet AGL. During a go around, LNAV engages when we are in a single channel above 50 feet AGL, in autoline above 400 feet AGL. To arm LNAV on the ground, the track of first leg needs to be within 5 degrees of runway heading, so this is important to know. And when we push the switch, commands AFDS roll to intercept and track to the next waypoint. Engages when laterally within 3 miles of the active route leg. If outside of 3 miles of the active route leg, LNAV engages if on an intercept heading of 90 degrees or less, and the intercept will occur before the active waypoint. And inserts LNAV as roll mode and illuminates LNAV switch light. Now let's talk about VNAV, and this is all you can expect to see about the VNAV on the FMA. VNAV climb, VNAV speed, VNAV level off at altitude restricted by MCP altitude, you will see VNAV alt. VNAV level off at FMC altitude constraint, FMC cruise altitude, we will see VNAV path. Descent in VNAV path, when thrust is required, we will see VNAV path and FMC speed. Descent in VNAV path, idle, initially you will see retard and then arm, VNAV path, and descend on VNAV speed. We'll see retard VNAV speed and arm VNAV speed. So this is quite a lot of information here for VNAV. I'll try to go through this quickly. VNAV guidance becomes available at 400 feet AGL. When we push the switch, VNAV switch illuminates. Pitch mode annotates VNAV speed, VNAV path, or VNAV alt. Auto throttle mode annotates FMC speed, N1, retard, or arm. Indicator speed, MAC display blanks, and airspeed cursors positioned to FMC commanded airspeed. In VNAV speed, AFDS and auto throttle command target FMC airspeed, similar to level change. In VNAV path, the AFDS and auto throttle command target FMC vertical speed. MCP constraint altitude annotates VNAV alt. VNAV constraint altitude annotates VNAV path. During cruise flight, selecting a lower MCP altitude arms FMC to automatically begin descent upon arrival at FMC top of descent point. During descent, in VNAV speed, auto throttle holds idle, AFDS holds FMC target speed. And during descent in VNAV path, auto throttle holds idle but can command FMC speed mode if ground speed becomes too low to maintain FMC vertical path. AFDS tracks FMC descent path. Automatic level off, of course, at MCP altitude or VNAV altitude, whichever is reached first. VNAV mode is terminated when selecting another pitch mode, glide slope capture, reaching end of LNAV route, transition to glide slope intercept waypoint if glide slope is armed, cross-track deviation exceeds twice the RMP value during path descent for an active leg with a database vertical angle and LNAV not engaged.